Jackie van Beek, I believe, I'm hoping, is on the line now.
Hello.
Hello, Jackie.
Hello, yes, I am. Hi.
Yes, it is a wonderful thing. Oh, that is great. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. I know how nutty your life must be with all the things that you're into, but I saw the movie and I was just so impressed that you were sort of like high on my wish list of people to talk to. So congratulations, you should be really proud.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, it is a nutty time. It's Aman, Valentine, the director, and I are very much enjoying the movie being out finally and being able to chat to the people that are going to see it in the cinemas.
Well, when I was watching it, I felt like, first of all, I was like, this is so brilliantly bizarre and odd, and I felt like I was watching a foreign film, which ticked a lot of boxes for me. But then the gibberish starts, and you're just like, and I knew that it was going to happen, but it's so completely perfect for the film, which sort of seems weird, doesn't it, that it should work so well?
Yeah, like the music was such a big component for us because we had our production design team like get rid of any sort of English signage. Like you'll never see anything in English in the film visually. Of course, all of us actors are speaking in a fictional language in gibberish. And then as a little reminder, we have, all of the songs in gibberish as well, but recognizable songs. So it was so important for Aman and I from the very beginning when we decided to go down this gibberish route. We're like, at least within the first 20 minutes, we've got to have a recognizable song to remind the audience that this is in a gibberish language. Because it does feel just like a foreign film. So you can kind of slip into that, yeah.
When I left the cinema, I was quite disappointed to hear English again. Like I wanted to keep that language going. I love the thank you. What's the word? The thank you? Chula.
Chula. Yeah.
Chula. And
yeah, we all have our own different
word.
dialects, you might have noticed in the film. Isn't it beautiful? We had about 8 to 10 words that we had a rehearsal period, so all of us actors could start to kind of practice improvising this fake language, so we all sounded, at least somewhat like from the same part of the world with different dialects. And we had about 8 or 10 words emerge that we used throughout. So we had chula for thank you, ardet for goodbye, kofuk for F you, and of course everybody's names and things. And then we just improvise, but like using those common words does kind of anchor it when you watch it. So it does feel even more like a real language because of the repetition, even though we're just wildly making things up as we go.
Which is quite an achievement. That's what I thought too. I thought, well, of course, chula sounds perfect as a word for thank you. Why don't we introduce this into our language? It was bizarre the way that my brain. Yeah, it's just awesome. And so, for you, like going right back with Aman, like how tell us about the initial rumblings of this whole script. Like, were you two sitting having a chat one day, or you'd originally come up with this concept about a couple miscommunicating, and then you decided just to take it one step further?
Yeah, that's right. Aman and I, we had just decided to get together and develop like 4 or 5 story ideas. So we were doing that, and then we put the focus onto Nude Tuesday, which, as you know, is about a very repressed suburban couple in a flailing marriage who go to a new age camp, like as a last-ditch attempt to save their marriage and save their family. And so we had that, and we were excited about that, and we were working away on the story. And then it was about a year into the development that we were seeing a lot of non-English films at the New Zealand Film Festival at the time. And I just said to Aman very early one morning, I said, drive over to my place, which she did, and they said, what do you think about, instead of writing this film in English, why don't I write all the action and the story in English, but why don't we have all of the actors speaking gibberish? Which she loved that idea because it really kind of linked to our themes that we were communicating, about miscommunication, misinterpretation, and also we just thought it would be so wild and fun, which it was.
And is, and works brilliantly. And it's unique to a movie. I mean, this is a first, really, isn't it?
I believe it's the first entire feature film to be performed in gibberish. Of course, we're quite used to it on the internet with certain memes or lip syncing or dubbing, and people, write their own versions of things. And also in a couple of TV shows, I think there are, nonsensical languages. Of course, we have The Hobbit. I believe they constructed a whole language for the elves in that, did they? We didn't. We just thought, we don't have time to learn a whole language. Let's just improvise. We listened to a lot of Icelandic radio, all of us in rehearsal, and then just tried to sound like that.
Right. Yes, I see. Which it sort of does, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was interesting, and I hope that people from Scandinavia one day see this film, because Aman and I are big fans of the films that come out of that part of the world, and I hope they see it as an homage rather than a mock, because it certainly was an homage. But we had one of our featured extras who was down in Makarora, filming the New Age camp with us. He was Finnish, and he came up to me and said towards the end, he said, "It is such a bizarre experience for me because I'm recognizing like German words, Danish words, a whole lot of different words that we were accidentally kind of stumbling upon." And he said, you guys are speaking weird European sentences, but all in the wrong order. So I think for him it was probably the strangest experience. Yeah.
Wouldn't have been. So it's a mishmash of lots of different Scandi and European languages. Incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so cool, and it's so odd, and that's what I loved about it. I was just like, this is made in our country. This is so different and surreal and bizarre and odd, and that's what I loved the most about it, was that it was, I think some of the critics, what do they describe it as? Bananas. There's been various descriptions of the film. Someone called it, they said it was bonkers, bananas, bawdy, which it is. I love how bawdy it is. Don't you think? And it's bold. It's bold. It's very different.
Yeah, I don't know if it's bold. Maybe it is bawdy. It's definitely bold. We do have, it's called Nude Tuesday, and there is full frontal nudity, but only on the Tuesday. I remind, potential audience goers who are looking a bit nervous about that. I said, it's only on the Tuesday. It's only the last 12 minutes of the film.
Nudity is hardly anything in the film, actually.
What's that?
The nudity really is only a very small part of the film. It only happens at the end, and it really is kind of irrelevant. No, I think the bawdiness is great because, I particularly love the receptionist, and when she's sitting there completely naked, and I think is it Bruno walks in and says, "Why are you so completely nude?"
Yeah, that's right. And she's like, "It's knocking Tiz dog. It's Nude Tuesday." Yeah,
knocking Tiz dog.
I love that, and I love. I mean, we had to, of course, because, it is a film that requires a lot from the actors. So, Aman and I, managed to find these really brave, courageous, pioneering actors who were willing to speak gibberish and be nude and kind of come on this journey with us. So every time I see the film, and I've seen it many times now, I just feel so proud of everyone, up on top of that mountain. Completely starkers, it's freezing cold, but I just love that everyone did that to try something that hasn't been done before, in New Zealand here. I find it really quite moving, actually.
Yeah, and I think people will. And, of course, we broadcast from Queenstown, from Gibbston Valley. That's where we're coming to you from now. And so for us, I was in the cinema in Arrowtown watching this, and there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, I've been to that camp at Makarora," or, that's somewhere around here, isn't that Cardrona? Because you did film in this region.
Yeah, we did, and Aman and I went back down there to do 2 screenings down in Wanaka. And we had a lot of the locals from Makarora and Wanaka there. A lot of people that had worked on the film came to those screenings, which was so fantastic. We filmed at a camp called Wonderland in Makarora, which for people who don't know where that is between Wanaka and Haast. Very remote and very beautiful. And we actually all just kind of moved down there for 5 weeks, and we lived on set in the beautiful A-frames we were filming. So if we needed to film in one of the rooms, we had to move out. It was like being on a school camp ourselves, actually.
It would have been. Weren't the A-frames kind of creepy and perfect for what you were looking for, the feel you wanted? It looked very depressing, I have to say.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think because we asked Jermaine Clements to play the camp guru Bjorg, and I believe it was actually when Aman sent him some visual material, which included many shots of those A-frames. I think that's what really made him go yes, because I think he, he knows me, he knows Aman, but there's something about that environment that is so kind of. It's kind of so elevated, so heightened that I believe that that attracted Jermaine to the project. I think those A-frames sealed the deal, in my personal opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So his comedic sensibilities, and also how perfect was he to play that role of Bjorg? Could you imagine anyone else pulling it off? Possibly not the right choice of words, but could you imagine anyone but Jermaine playing it as well as he did?
He's just so brilliant, and I've known him for many years, and it's the second kind of film where I've written a very awkward sex scene for him and myself to perform, and so I was very pleased when he said yes to a second awkward sex scene with me. But he did say, "Thank you, Jackie, for giving me more status," because in the breaker-uppers I didn't give his character much status in our awkward sex scene. This one, he has a lot more status. And then I plummet, and then his status plummets towards the end of the film, which I also delighted in as the writer, going, he can have status there, but not by the end. Not by the end.
But you're going to fall badly at the end when your wife or girlfriend, which he was married to, wasn't he? And she turned up with the son.
Yes, and that's his real-life partner, a dear friend of mine, Miranda Minasiadis, an excellent actor and director in her own right, actually. So that made me laugh that it was that they're actually partners.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting. But yes, I think certainly Bjorg was totally believable, and he looked like he was having a fine time in the movie. He actually looked very comfortable in those scenes, sort of lounging around with his chains and his robes.
Yes, it's actually my real-life husband plays Alexander, my husband Jesse Griffin, and he was very excited to do a kind of very languid kind of sexual scene with Jermaine. I mean, we all got to go, which was fantastic.
Oh, he must be getting used to it by now when he's working with you, Jackie. So another question, you did mention that awkward scene by the lake, and anyone who's seen the movie, I think this would be a standout, because it was just so hilarious and so uncomfortable kind of to watch when you were walking over there with the goat, and you said, "Oh, shall we go and see Bjorg?" And you're like, and you can see your little wicked look in your eye, and away you go. And we knew that it was all going to end a little messily, and of course it did. But he's so dismissive of you, and he's so brilliant in the way he's on the phone talking about some item of clothing that he's ordering. Very clever scene.
Yes, and of course, for the people that haven't seen it, and even some people that have seen it don't realise this, but once Aman and I finished the film, we locked the picture, locked the sound, did everything, and then we sent the film with no script. We sent to UK comedian Julia Davis and said to her, she's a hero of mine, said to her, now you can write the subtitles and you can write whatever you like. So that was amazing, and then to see her script come back was astonishing, because there were so many surprises for us. Even though we'd made the entire film and I'd spent 5 years writing it, I was like, oh wow, that's an amazing idea. My characters had an affair, a Christmas anal fling with her idiot boss. Like, I never wrote that, and I loved what she did with that whole story.
Yeah, that was pretty, that's just so clever. And also the weird thing that I've had trouble getting my head around is you've got like a United Nations of people working on this. So there's going to be different storylines for Nude Tuesday, depending on where you see it, which is just totally weird, but so clever. So you've gone and got someone from Malaysia and Australia, as well as Julia, and they've all added their creative touches to it.
Yeah, that's right. In our budget, we had enough for two versions. So we have one version by Australian comedians Celia Piccola and Ronnie Cheng, and then we have our Julia Davis version as well. And as you say, Aman and I have our grand vision is that there will be multiple versions over the years. Unfortunately, we can't finance them, so I'm hoping I'm hoping that it will just continue to grow, but it'll be those territories that do buy the film and then decide if they want to commission writers from their own territory, but we've kind of set up this template, that can be this kind of organic kind of living beast that could continue for years. I love the idea of it just one day being on YouTube, or people live dubbing it in comedy clubs, or university professors just giving it out as homework. Just subtitle this, guys. I love that idea. That's my wish.
It is, and I cannot believe that the two of you could sit down and think so laterally and come up with this crazy concept. But then again, you've both cut your teeth on some pretty amazing work. So I guess, do you feel that you and Aman are a tight team, are very good working together?
Yeah, she's just one of those collaborators that I really just fell into sync with when I met her. And, I've done a lot of work with Madeline Sami, and I have another a writing partner that I'm doing some projects with, and I work with Jessie on our TV show Educators and things. But Aman and I, when we get together, there's just a certain, combining her brain with mine produces this kind of slightly delightful world where we can come up with these kind of out-of-the-box ideas. And one of the things that's so great about Aman is, I come from a comedy background, so I come up with this gibberish idea, and I think, it'll be so funny, it'll be so great. And she's someone, she's like a proper artist, and she was like, we've got to go to the emotion, Jackie, we've got to stay true. And what's been so nice is that people coming out of the cinema have said to us, that was so funny, I laughed so much, but I also felt really moved, and I found it really emotional, and that was really tribute to Aman, always saying we can play the laughs and the emotion in this film, and she was completely right. I always
she was
that comedy gag thing.
Well, The Breaker Uppers is one of my all-time favourite movies, and I just think, but what I loved about you in this film is that you were so dowdy and the clothes were so bland. And how was it being, what was it like wearing those sort of awful pale anoraks and things? I mean, it really was, the way you played her was very sort of deadpan.
Yes, no, I do love dressing a character down. I guess that's my comfort zone. I'm always trying to make my hair bad or my clothes bad. I don't know if it's the Kiwi in me, but I'm like, the worse I kind of look, the more funny I find it. And so the more, I don't know, maybe it's a comfort zone thing. I think as Kiwis, we are quite good at dressing down. Like when I go to an awards night or an opening of a premiere, I have to remind myself not just to wear jeans and Ugg boots. I have to be like, Jackie, you have to put on a dress. So I loved, although when I looked at some of the images of some of those scenes, I was like, whoa, I look crazy because I had like 7 layers because it was so cold filming. So sometimes I look about twice as large as I normally am, which I enjoyed as well. But it's because I'm wearing 7 layers of thermals.
7 layers, which also makes it the more astonishing. Yeah. Oh, really? But and the glasses and just I don't know, really great styling because she certainly had a feel to her, and it really didn't change through the whole film. Even when you were sort of a little bit sexed up with, the cult leader, Jermaine, you still managed to look quite sort of bland, which is funny,
I've never been able. Yeah, I've never been able to watch that whole scene. And it is one of my favourite scenes. Like, I'm so proud of the awkward hand job by the river scene. But I've never been able to watch that whole scene without covering my eyes for at least 4 or 5 seconds. I've never watched the whole thing right through. It's so just good. So cringy, which I love. Yeah.
But you feel very sad for Lara. You're like, oh, well, she could have had a moment in the sun and he could have told her she was beautiful. But no, he was very dismissive and very cold and hard and off to his next little foray, next orgy probably. It's just, it is very funny. But you mentioned the moving part, and I do, and I do think there's a lot of that because you start off with the family scene and the daughters, and the mum-in-law is encouraging them to go to this camp to save their marriage because they're miserable, and the kids want them to do it, and when they do kind of come to the end and they fall apart, you actually do feel quite sad. It's weird.
Yeah, that's right. I loved playing the pathos in the film, and when I watch it back, there are so many moving moments. Yeah, I'm so pleased we managed to find that great blend. As I said, Aman really always stayed very strong around that, and I love that. Yeah, I'm glad that people come out, like, so many people have said to me or messaged me or whatever saying, I haven't laughed that much for so long, but I also found it really emotional, and so that's the kind of best feedback, creatively, that we could ever have with this film, I think.
I think so too. And one of my favourite posters is of you two hitchhiking, you and Bruno, and his arms strategically placed across your breasts, so you can just see that you're topless with your fingers out.
That was a cold thing to shoot as well. Yeah, there was a lot of cold, quite nude scenes, but it was all worth it in the end. Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. Watching people hike up that hill. So where exactly was that mountain? Was that Cardrona? When you went up to the lake for the scene? So we caught we all took helicopters, like 2 at a time, from Wonderland in Makarora, and just flew for like 2 minutes, like straight up to some of the peaks just around there. It was literally like a 2.5-minute helicopter ride, and the helicopters just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, delivering us up to the very top of that mountain in the snow. And then, of course, at the end of the day, when you're running out of time and when the light is fading and they need to get people off the mountain, of course, like, there's this beautiful, you've seen it, but at the end there's this very tranquil, beautiful shot of me and Damon Herriman, who plays Bruno, holding hands and walking off in this beautiful epic backdrop, and it's like lovely music playing and gibberish, but in reality, like, what you can't hear, but in reality it was like, get in the chopper, there were people getting choppered off, and it was just absolutely I still had that shot, I still had my radio microphone like taped all down we didn't even have time to take off my radio mic. We were just so pushed for time, and so they had to remove all of that in post, which took, days and days of trying to get rid of that radio mic. But we just, you always run out of time, and when you're up the top of a mountain, I mean, safety is paramount, so you need to get people off in time. So true.
It was chaos.
I mean, hypothermia is also a real possibility.
Well, yes, Jermaine was diagnosed with mild hypothermia and had to rest up for 1 day. Yes, he was, because, as you know, only one actor had to hop into that icy lake, and it wasn't me. Of course it wasn't me, because I wrote the script, so I made sure it wasn't my character. But he was incredibly courageous and generous about that. And he did get one.
It just looked so cold, and people were really living that experience. And when I was watching this, and I went on my own, and I could just feel people around me almost kind of like clutching at their coats and blankets, thinking, how did they do this? And I can't imagine, like, logistically, that would have been a pretty stressful few days, really, putting your cast through that. But so worth it, I guess. Yeah, we did all of that last sequence. Over a couple of days, but we drilled it, like, at the camp, all fully clothed. We did about 3 drills of it. It was like a military operation. So we practiced, okay, the helicopter lands here, you two move to here, then you walk to here, there's a tent up here, you put your cloak on here. So, like, we really drilled it, so we knew all of the logistics. And so when we actually got up there, it was really just trying to capture those shots and get those performances, and everyone knew where they needed to be, which was great. So there was none of that, because that can take, that can be a lot of mucking around if you're not quite sure to get off the helicopter, where do I go, True. And what time of year was this, Jackie?
Now, we ended up shooting in September, October 2020. So we were meant to shoot earlier, of course, and then we had the lockdown. And we were very lucky to manage to escape down into the South Island after the lockdown was lifted, and got back. And then I think Auckland went back into lockdown not long afterwards. So we were very lucky to get down there in between.
Yes. Actually, we were fortunate in the south because we did have that kind of almost, I think we had a year and a half with absolutely no COVID here. So it was, it was actually probably quite good for filmmakers to take the most of that opportunity because it has dragged on, as we all know. So it was very fortunate timing for the movie. And I think, having been through all that, this is the kind of movie that the country needs. Is it not? Do we not need some bizarre hilarity in our lives?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people have said that have been to the cinema and said, oh, I needed that. Oh, I just needed to laugh like that, or I needed to escape our world, because I think you can, because it is in gibberish and it's all a bit nutty, I think people can kind of, I don't know, people seem to kind of immerse themselves in the experience and, like you say, not really want to come back to reality too soon afterwards. You can kind of get lost in the film, which is a nice thing, I think.
What about the people, I won't keep you too much longer, I really appreciate your extra time. It's just, here on South Beat, we don't actually have to go to ads, so it's really nice to speak a wee bit longer, especially with someone like you, because I'm super grateful for your time, and I am a fan of yours, just because I think you're a very funny actress and obviously very clever with this whole concept, and I think it's so unique. But my question was, the nude screenings. There have been some, have there not? Is that only in Australia, though, for this film?
Yes,
when people go along
I've been
with no
researching it on
clothes.
the internet. I can't find a nude one in New Zealand, unfortunately. But they have had nude screenings in Sydney and I believe in Melbourne as well. But nothing in New Zealand. So, and over there, I looked it up at their websites. It seems to be going quite well. People just BYO a towel, and then they need to get undressed in the cinema. Now, if you need to go to the bathroom, you need to get dressed, go to the bathroom, come back to the cinema, and then get undressed because, of course, you can't streak through the foyer. But no, I can't. I don't think that anyone's doing it in New Zealand, unfortunately. You'd think Queenstown, you'd think, hey, just pump the heaters, pour a margarita or something, and strip off and watch the movie. But
probably mulled wine at this time of year. Maybe in July. I think it should. I think it should happen, and I think. I might start a campaign or something because, I mean, let's face it. If it was,
that. Well,
yes,
I
it was
would endorse that.
a good idea. Yeah, well, I reckon people will. I mean, people are.
That is more. Yeah. Mulled wine is more fitting.
Jackie.
I guess I drink margaritas. When I get excited, I drink margaritas all year round, you see. No, I don't care what season it is, but I think mulled wine is a better idea. Yeah.
Well, margaritas or mulled wine, you'd need something for a bit of courage, but to be nude in the cinema, but hey, it's dark. It's not that big a deal, and you just have something. You could just do a Marilyn Monroe, right, and have, so you're naked underneath your big fur coat. So all you do is pop that on, pop out for your. We actually have intermission at one of our cinemas in Arrowtown. It's really old school, and I quite love it because that means you can. I mean, I know it probably is weird for a filmmaker, but you can go in and grab a cheese board and stuff and what have you, and get your wine and pop back in. So that's what you have to do. You just have your big coat. And some shoes, I guess. Yeah. And then off it comes when you sit back down and you're butt naked again, enjoying the film.
Well, I love that idea. I mean, I think that version is great. Or even another version would be you just in your knapsack, you just have like a nice kind of robe and slippers. And you could do it that way as well, more like a day spa without the spa. But I think
nice.
There are multiple possibilities here. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me, Jackie, have you had any prudes? Have you had any negative feedback about the nudity? It'd be hard to think that there would be, but there are prudes in our country.
There are. Now, I haven't seen any personally and have no one's personally messaged me. I'm not one of those filmmakers who goes onto the socials and checks every single comment, or goes onto the internet and checks. So I'm sure if I dedicated my time to looking for prudes, I would find them, but I have not. I don't need to spend my time doing that. Yeah. Searching out negativity. But no, I haven't had anyone say to me directly, I didn't like the nudity. But I'm sure, like you say, I'm sure there are people that find it very confronting. But Aman and I, one of the agendas with this film was, one of the reasons we love those kind of films coming out of Scandinavia and Europe is that nudity is so normalised and it's not sexualised. And so we wanted to do something in our movie where to completely detach the nudity from sex. So we do have sex scenes, of course, but everyone's clothed. And in the nude sequence, it's nothing to do with sex. It's just people walking up a mountain without their clothes on. So that was a very conscious thing that we wanted to do, to separate those things.
Yes, it's more about liberation, that scene of... it got me thinking that it would be quite fun to try doing that. Look, given that I live in the mountains, it's never occurred to me to walk nude up a hillside in the snow. But, hey, it'd probably be very liberating, a bit like diving into ice-cold water in winter.
Oh, absolutely. I do a little bit of, nude sunbathing at the nudie beach in summer. Delightful.
Yeah.
And very detached from sex. I just find it so weird that people often, when I see stuff on screen, in Australasia, if someone's nude, they're just about to have sex, and I'm like, well, they've just had it. I'm like, why are we not? Yeah. Why are we not just roaming around nude and like they do in those wonderful European films? Everyone seems to be nude, don't they?
They do. I think the thing I also loved about Nude Tuesday is there's all sorts of body shapes, and I think that's really cool because if you had this made in perhaps the States, everyone would have enhanced breasts. They'd all have perfect bodies, they'd all be, and you all look terrific. I thought I didn't, but what I'm saying is it was real. You could relate. Not everyone was.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of
was perfect.
Yeah, we have had a lot of people comment on that, especially women, saying that they found the nude sequences, with such a beautiful array of different, shaped bodies that women especially have come up to us and said how kind of moving and empowering they've found that to see, to see those body shapes up on screen, some shapes that might reflect their own and feel, felt quite emotional around that, which I think is fantastic. I just think whenever I see that final sequence, I just feel so proud of the whole ensemble, and it really is just like these kind of bodies in a landscape. Nearly, I think Aman, and Andy Comis, our cinematographer, did such a beautiful job of creating that world and painting those pictures.
Yes. Actually, do you know, it's funny you mentioned that because it was a really beautiful visual moment. It was almost like art. I sound really pretentious now, but I'm not trying to be, but I'm just saying it was like a painting with all these bodies and the snow and the incredible scenery. It was very visually impactful. Yeah,
and I think that's a real, a real strength Aman has as a filmmaker. Like, she is such a kind of visual director as well as being a fantastic actor's director. So I felt very lucky to pair up with her to create this crazy story inside this beautiful world.
Jackie van Beek, do you worry that this movie might not reach a broader audience because some people, let's face it, I don't like to use the word pleb, but I'm just thinking lowest common denominator. I'm thinking like there's some things in here that might turn off your average Kiwi film goer. Perhaps they prefer to see Tom Cruise than something that is a little bit perhaps more challenging. Or are you finding that it's the opposite, that people's curiosity is being piqued by what they're hearing? Well, we've only had a couple of weeks in the cinemas here in New Zealand, so obviously Top Gun's playing, which a lot of people are going to, and all power to them. I'm hoping that, Top Gun's drawing people into the cinemas, and then they might see our poster and think, maybe we'll go to that tomorrow night. Aman and I were, always very aware that we are not making Top Gun, and that, that we are making an absurd comedy that has subtitles and is performed in a gibberish language. So, it's we know it's not going to be number one in the box office. We know we're not going to top Gun, but we have been really
like I was speaking with a man last night. We were out together, and I was saying I really couldn't be happier with the critical response and audience response, because the people that are going, and the people that are going have been delighted by it, and I think some people that didn't think it would be their thing have actually been surprised at how funny it is as well. That's what people say. Oh, it's so funny. And that's, of course, Julia Davis writing all of her crazy subtitles, enhances the humour, and a lot of the music people love. And so, yeah, I know it's not Top Gun, and that was never, a dream of ours to...
Thank goodness.
To Top Gun in the charts. I just think if I set out to do that, I don't think my brain would have thought of this idea. Yeah.
No,
I guess
absolutely
I'm not driven by those really broad. I do love broad films myself, like I really do. But I really gravitate to those slightly more peculiar, original, slightly oddball films myself. So I guess we made something that we thought that we would love to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I always look for oddball, but I often find that they're on at really strange times and in the tiniest option of the cinema, and that makes me realise that maybe I am weird and I'm the only one who likes this sort of stuff. But I don't think so. I think there's a huge... I think, okay, it's early days, like you say, so who knows? We just have to wait and see how Nude Tuesday goes. And as you say, it's like a living, breathing beast now. It can evolve into all sorts of different forms.
Yeah, I
hope so. Kind of scary,
really
scary but interesting.
Oh, I'm fascinated. Yeah, I'm fascinated to see if it will, just continue to kind of grow, or it's fascinating for me.
Oh, well done. And I think we better call it a day there, and I might try to play another song from the film. And just one little footnote. It's true, right, that Jermaine actually sang on the cover of Road to Nowhere?
Now, he didn't sing on Road to Nowhere, but he did sing 2 or 3 other songs. His song that he created with the band, the Phoenix Foundation, who go by the name Monica for this sort of work. He recorded an incredible spoken word version that plays on the end credits, actually. And we do have a soundtrack coming out in the next couple of weeks, which will have all of the songs on. So I'll need to start letting people know about that, and so people can listen to all of the gibberish songs, Jermaine's ones included. Yeah.
And then, of course, the Islands and the Streams sounded so different.
Yeah, that's right. I love their version. Yeah, we had 2 wonderful Australian, it was produced here in New Zealand by Cam Ballantyne, who was our composer, and 2 wonderful Australian singers come in and do that. And then the rest of the music was produced by Monica, like I say, the Phoenix Foundation lads, and they did such a superb job. I just love those guys.
Well, I would like the soundtrack, and I think the Islands and the Stream version is better than the original.
Oh, wow. Big call. Big call.
Big call.
I love it. I love it as well. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's great. Yeah. I think the soundtrack will be a winner. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that, and I'll let you get on with your crazy life. Can you give us an idea of what's next, Jackie, in the scheme of things?
I can tell you. Well, what's next, like very next, is actually I'm doing another Nude Tuesday interview in 7 minutes, which I'm so excited about. And and then I am working on, then I'm actually popping over to Amans, who only lives 3 minutes. I bought a house like 3 minutes away from her, so I can always just like zap over without telling her. So I'm going to go and ambush her, and we're developing a couple of projects together, some new projects. So we're going to go over and have we've invested in a new whiteboard, which is very exciting for us. So I'm going to go and write some stuff on whiteboard, some new ideas.
Typical
and bedazzle
filmmakers.
her with these new ideas.
I can't wait. Mucking about and coming up with ideas. Well, good for you, and thanks so much for giving so much of your time. It's been great.
Oh, please. Oh, thank you.
Thanks all I have to say is Tula.
Tula and Arde.
Tula. You say it better than me. It's got to be the Tula. Say it one more time.
Oh, look, you can have your own dialect. You can do whatever you like. You say Tula, Tula.
Okay.
Whatever. It's very free, very free.
Chula's pretty. Well, I'll just say that's thank you in gibberish. And Jackie van Beek, brilliant. Thanks a million. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
See you.
Hooray.
Bye-bye.